More than 70% of Harley owners will report an engine problem at some point in their ownership. And here's the ugly truth. Most of that damage isn't bad luck. It's the rider. It's a handful of dumb habits repeated over and over until something expensive lets go. You might be doing 3 or 4 of these right now and have no idea. Today we're exposing 15 stupid mistakes that are destroying Harleys every single day. Some of these will cost you a $60 part. Ignore them, and you're staring down a $4,000 bottom-end rebuild. Let's get into it. Number 15. Lugging the engine because you love that low thumping sound. Let's start with the one nobody wants to hear, because almost everybody does it. You are rolling through town in third gear at 1,500 RPM, that big V-twin going potato, 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 and you think you sound like a Harley should. What you are actually doing is grinding your bottom end into metal filings. Here is the mechanical reality. Your connecting rods ride on a thin film of oil in the main bearings. A Harley runs on oil volume, not pressure. You have only got around 12 to 15 pounds of oil pressure, where a car engine runs 60 pounds. When you lug the motor, low RPM under heavy load, like rolling on the throttle in a tall gear or pulling up a hill, that oil film breaks down. Once it is gone, you get metal-on-metal contact at the mains. That is the death rattle. That is rod knock. That is the sound of your wallet emptying. And the S&S tech department will tell you flat out, they get far more calls about engines killed by lugging than engines that got revved too hard. The taller gearing and 6 speed boxes on modern bikes make it worse, especially on loaded baggers and trikes. So here is the rule. Do not pull hard under 2,000 RPM, and on some bikes keep it above 2,500. If you twist the throttle and the bike labors instead of pulling clean, you are lugging, downshift. Your compensator and your bottom end will thank you. And if you think lugging is bad, this next one is quietly starving your motor from the inside. But the next example might shock you. Mistake number 14, ignoring the cam chain tensioners on twin cam engines. If you ride a twin cam Harley, that's roughly 1999 through 2017. Pay very close attention, because this one has ended more Harley motors than almost anything else on this list. Your twin cam uses spring-loaded cam chain tensioners with plastic shoes riding against the chains. And those plastic shoes wear out. That's not an if, it's a when. Here's where it gets brutal. Most riders never think to look. You change your oil, you swap your air filter, and you never crack open the cam chest. So those tensioner shoes wear down to nothing. Plastic debris goes circulating through your oil, and eventually, the metal backing chews into the chain and the cam support plate. Now, you are not replacing a $40 shoe. You have got a wiped cam plate, damaged cam bearings, and possibly a grenaded oil pump. And some of these have failed as early as 15,000 miles. The fix is knowledge. If you are on a twin cam, get those tensioners inspected and seriously consider converting to a hydraulic tensioner setup or a gear drive cam conversion. Catch the plastic while it is still plastic, not after it has become shrapnel. And speaking of the oil that carries all that debris around, the next mistake is the most common killer of all. But here comes the twist. Mistake number 13, treating oil changes like a suggestion. You wouldn't run a marathon without water, so why are you running 10,000 miles on oil that's turned to sludge? On an air-cooled V-twin, your oil isn't just lubrication, it's a huge part of your cooling system. These motors run hot. When the oil breaks down, you lose lubrication and cooling at the exact moment your engine needs both most. And here's the Harley-specific trap a lot of riders miss. Your Harley has 3 separate oil systems: engine oil, primary oil, and transmission oil. 3. Most riders change the engine oil and completely forget the primary and the transmission, and those fluids are grinding away with sludge and metal in them for years. A proper service touches all 3 plus the filter. Stick to your intervals. Many shops say every 5,000 miles, or sooner if you ride hard, ride hot, or ride a lot of stop and go. Use a real 20W50 motorcycle oil, not whatever's on sale at the car parts counter. Skip this and that $80 service becomes a sludged up top end and a very bad afternoon. And here's a mistake that quietly cooks that same oil twice as fast. Now things start to change. Mistake number 12, letting your bike idle to warm it up for 10 minutes. You start the bike, walk back inside to finish your coffee, and let it sit there idling in the driveway for 10 minutes because someone told you that is how you warm up a Harley. You are doing the opposite of helping. An AIR-cooled engine relies on airflow to shed heat. Sitting still at idle, there is no air moving over those cylinders. The rear cylinder especially just bakes. Your motor does not warm up properly at idle anyway. It warms up under gentle load, moving down the road with air flowing over the fins. Extended idling just builds heat with no cooling, washes fuel past your rings, and wears the motor for zero benefit. The right move is to fire it up, give it 30 to 60 seconds to get oil circulating, then ride away gently for the first few miles until the motor comes up to temperature. That is it. And while we are on the subject of heat, the next one is a heat trap that catches riders in every traffic jam in America. And then this happens. Mistake number 11, sitting in stop-and-go traffic without managing heat. Air-cooled Harleys and dead-stop traffic are natural enemies. No airflow, big V-twin pumping out heat, and that rear cylinder climbing toward temperatures that start cooking your oil and your right leg. Riders just sit there in gear, clutch pulled, roasting the motor for 20 minutes and wondering why their oil smells burnt. If you're stuck, there are real things you can do. If your bike has it, this is exactly what the engine idle temperature management system, the automatic rear cylinder shutoff, is designed for. So don't disable it just because you don't like the feel. Keep the bike rolling even slowly rather than sitting dead stopped, because a little movement means a little airflow. And if it's brutal, it's better to pull over for a few minutes than to marinate the motor at a standstill. Heat is what kills these engines, not miles. Heat. Manage it. Now the next mistake is one that feels harmless every single time you do it. Now watch what happens next. Mistake number 10, running cheap or ethanol-heavy fuel, then letting it sit. Your Harley wants clean fuel at the right octane for your model. Feed it garbage low-octane gas, and you invite knock and carbon deposits. But the bigger Harley killer is ethanol. E10 and anything higher attracts moisture. And that moisture means corrosion inside your tank and on your fuel pump components. The ethanol also breaks down into varnish and gum that clogs the in-tank filter sock, and once that filter's choked, your pump strains against the resistance, overheats, and burns itself out. And here's what most people don't connect. Your fuel pump lives inside the tank, cooled by fuel. Run it clogged and hot, and it dies. And that's a fuel tank off. Few $100 job. Use good fuel, run non-ethanol where you can get it, and if the bike's going to sit more than a few weeks, treat the tank. Which brings us perfectly to the mistake that murders more Harleys over the winter than the road ever could, and the next entry proves the point perfectly. Mistake number 9, storing the bike. Wrong over winter. The riding season ends, you park the Harley in the garage, walk away, and come back in spring to a dead battery, a gummed-up fuel system, and flat-spotted tires. Winter doesn't kill bikes. Bad storage does. 3 things go wrong. 1. You leave untreated fuel in the tank. Within weeks, it starts forming sticky residue that clogs injectors and lines, and ethanol pulls moisture into the tank to rust it from the inside. Fix. Fill the tank completely, so there's no airspace to condense moisture, and add stabilizer. Then run the bike a few minutes so treated fuel reaches the whole system. 2. You leave the battery sitting in the cold. It self-discharges, sulfates, and permanently loses capacity. Fix. Put it on a battery tender, a smart maintainer that won't overcharge, or pull it and store it somewhere warm. 3. You leave the bike sitting on its tires all winter and they develop flat spots. Fix. Inflate to max recommended pressure and ideally get the weight off the tires. Do those 3 things and it fires right up in spring. Ignore them, and spring starts with a repair bill. Now here's a mistake that's costing you traction every single ride, and this next one explains why. Mistake number 8. Never checking your tire pressure. Your tires are the only 2 patches of rubber connecting a 700-pound machine to the road, and most riders check them about once a season. Tire pressure bleeds off naturally over time, and a Harley running low on air handles like a wet noodle, vague steering, sluggish turn-in, and way more heat building in the sidewalls. That heat, over miles, is what leads to premature wear, and in the worst case, a sidewall failure at speed. On a bike, that's not a repair bill, that's a hospital visit. Underinflation also kills your mileage and wears the edges of your tread faster. This is a 2-minute check with a $5 gauge, done cold before you ride, set to the spec on your swing arm or in the manual, not the max number on the tire. Check it weekly. It's the cheapest insurance on the entire bike.
Before we continue, everything in this video comes straight from Ride Longer, Spend Less, the complete motorcycle maintenance handbook. The full system, every step and every number we couldn't fit here. Scan the QR code on your screen to get your copy, and let's get back to it.
And speaking of things that wear out silently, the next one leaves a puddle under your bike, and most riders just ignore it. And this is where things get fascinating. And that leads us directly to the next example. Mistake number 7. Ignoring oil leaks and wet spots. Harley's leak. It's almost a running joke. But there's a difference between a little weep and a real leak, and the riders who shrug off every drip are the ones who end up with real damage. Oil leaks on these bikes come from tired gaskets, hardened seals, base gaskets, rocker covers, the derby cover, or a filter that wasn't torqued right. Each one is telling you something. Here's why you can't ignore it. Those leaks lower your oil level. Low oil on an air-cooled twin means less lubrication and less cooling, which means more friction, more heat, and accelerated wear across the whole motor. A $5 gasket ignored long enough becomes a scored cylinder. When you spot oil, actually find the source. Clean everything, ride, and see where it comes back instead of just wiping it and pretending. And speaking of things that fail from neglect, the next one can leave you stranded on the side of the road. And that brings us to the next discovery. Mistake number 6. Abusing the battery and charging system. Harley batteries already live a hard life. Heat and vibration are constantly working against them, so they typically only last 2 to 4 years. Then, riders make it worse. The big one, throwing a car battery charger on it. A car charger can push too much current and cook your motorcycle battery. Use a proper motorcycle maintainer or battery tender, period. The other half of this is ignoring the charging system. If your battery keeps dying, it's often not the battery. It's the stator, rotor, or voltage regulator failing to charge it. Riders keep jumping the bike and buying new batteries when the real culprit is a bad charging component, slowly frying every battery they install. Watch for dim lights, hard starts, and flickering. And check your charging voltage before you blame the battery. And here's a mistake that people cause themselves the second they start modifying the bike. Now we step into the next chapter of the list. Mistake number 5. Slapping on loud pipes without retuning the fuel. Every new Harley owner's first mod is exhaust. Straight pipes, slip-ons, whatever's loudest. Here's what nobody tells them at the parts counter. When you change the exhaust and open up the airflow, you've changed how much air the engine breathes. And if you don't remap the fuel to match, you're now running dangerously lean. A lean air-fuel mixture on an already hot, air-cooled engine is a recipe for disaster. It runs even hotter. You get backfiring and popping on deceleration, and over time that extra heat can burn valves and damage pistons. That free horsepower from open pipes is a myth without a tune anyway. You often lose low-end torque. If you're changing intake or exhaust, budget for a tuner. a power commander, or a proper dealer remap in the same breath. The pipes and the tune are one purchase, not two. And the next mistake is one riders make without even touching a wrench. Now we arrive at one of the most interesting examples. Mistake number 4, riding the clutch and shifting like it is a car. Harley transmissions are tough, but they are not indestructible, and a lot of riders beat on theirs out of pure habit. Riding with the clutch partially engaged, that half-pulled feathering at every light glazes and wears the clutch plates and cooks the primary oil. Then there is slamming gears and shifting at low RPM, which loads up the compensator and the whole driveline. Remember, this driveline is already living in a world of lugging stress from mistake number 15. Add sloppy shifting and hard clutch abuse on top, and you accelerate wear on the clutch, the compensator sprocket, and the transmission itself. Shift with intent, clutch fully in, a clean, deliberate shift, and keep the RPM in a sensible range so the gears are not fighting each other. Fully release the clutch when you are moving. Do not rest your hand on the lever dragging it. Little habits, big mileage. Now, the next two are the ones that separate riders who keep their Harleys forever from the ones who kill them early. Next, we look at a brand that quietly changed the game. Mistake number 3, babying a brand new or rebuilt engine wrong during break-in. This one's counterintuitive, so stick with me. When you get a fresh motor, new bike, or a rebuild, how you ride the first few hundred miles literally sets how well it seals and how long it lasts. And riders get it wrong in both directions. Baby it too much. Put around at featherlight throttle the whole break-in, and the piston rings never get pushed hard enough to seat against the cylinder walls. Rings that do not seat means an engine that burns oil and never makes full power for the rest of its life. Go the other way and beat on a stone-cold fresh motor with full throttle and no heat cycles, and you risk scuffing and scoring before anything is bedded in. The right path is varied load. Roll the throttle on and off through the rev range. Let the engine load and unload. Put heat cycles through it, and follow your specific engine builder's or Harley's break-in schedule to the letter. Get the first 500 miles right, and the motor rewards you for 100,000. And the number 1 mistake? It's the one that turns every other mistake on this list into a catastrophe. But the next spot belongs to something even more interesting. Mistake number 2, ignoring what your bike is trying to tell you. Your Harley talks to you constantly. A new tick from the top end, a rattle deep in the cam chest, a check engine light, a wet spot that's getting bigger, a vibration through the pegs that wasn't there last month. Every one of those is early warning, and the rider who tunes it all out is the rider who turns a cheap fix into a rebuild. That deep rattle could be your cam tensioners from mistake 14. That knock could be the lugging damage from mistake 15. That check engine light could be a sensor, or it could be a lean condition cooking a cylinder. The whole point is, these bikes almost never fail without warning. They warn you for weeks. Riders just decide the noise is normal Harley stuff and keep riding until something lets go on the highway. Trust your gut. If something feels different, sounds unusual, smells strange, or simply doesn't seem quite right, don't convince yourself it's nothing or hope it'll fix itself on the next ride. Motorcycles almost always give you warning signs before a major failure. They just expect you to notice them. A new vibration through the handlebars, a slight ticking noise from the engine, the smell of burning oil or coolant, a change in shifting feel, a brake that suddenly feels softer, or a small fluid spot on the garage floor are all the bike's way of telling you something needs attention. Investigate it while it's still a simple, inexpensive repair instead of continuing to ride until that small issue damages other components. What starts as a loose clamp, worn bearing, leaking gasket, or failing seal can quickly snowball into a repair costing hundreds or even thousands if it's ignored. Most catastrophic breakdowns don't happen without warning. They happen because the warning was dismissed. Deal with the problem while it's still a $50 fix, and you'll save yourself a lot of money, frustration, and time off the road. Which leads us straight into the single biggest mistake of them all. Coming in next is something many people overlook. Mistake number 1, thinking your Harley just runs and never learning it. Here's the big one, and everything else on this list flows out of it. The number 1 mistake is treating your Harley like an appliance. Gas it up, ride it, and never actually learn how it works. That mindset is what makes riders lug the motor, skip the primary oil, disable the heat management, run it lean, and ignore the warnings. Not malice, just not knowing. A Harley is a machine that wants an involved owner. The riders whose bikes run strong at 150,000 miles are not luckier. They are the ones who know their oil intervals, who know their engine family's weak spots, who know what their bike sounds like when it is healthy, so they can hear when it is not. You just have to care enough to learn. Get the factory service manual for your exact model instead of relying on guesswork or random advice from internet forums. Learn how your motorcycle is designed to work, understand its maintenance schedule, and become familiar with the systems that keep it alive. Know your 3 oil systems, where applicable, and understand what each one lubricates and why using the correct oil and changing it on time matters. Learn the common issues your specific engine is known for so you can recognize the early warning signs instead of discovering them after something fails. Spend enough time around your bike to know what it sounds like when it is healthy, the normal idle, the familiar mechanical noises, the way it shifts, and how it responds under acceleration. That way, when something changes, even slightly, you will notice it immediately instead of riding for months while a small problem quietly turns into an expensive repair. The best mechanics are not born with special talent. They have simply spent enough time paying attention to know when something is not right. Do that, and every other mistake on this list becomes almost impossible to make because you will catch problems while they are still inexpensive, simple, and easy to fix instead of waiting until they are serious enough to leave you stranded or empty your wallet. If you like uncovering hidden truths, subscribe and join us again soon.